Hey, people, this is the time. I mean, we are legitimately worth a shit this year.
You can say that again. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, outsiders of all ages, welcome in the Monday reaction edition of The Outsiders. First off, we do not have Jason Dick tonight. He is under the weather. We hope he gets better very soon. Shout out to Jason Dick, the outsider that got closest to the Michigan score last week in his prediction. He said they'd only score 9. They had a field goal more than that. So shout out to you, Jason Dick. Also a shout out to Poncho. We are the Outsiders presented by Poncho Outdoors. Bo is rocking a poncho tonight. This man's always ready to rock a poncho, whether he is fishing or whether he's sporting the Earl. Chance has showed you his Earl shirt on the show. If you love those mother of pearl snaps, or if you want to go with the more classic design, the classic button, that would be the Smoky. Mention Orange Bloods Live when you order. Get your favorite color that pertains to your high school teams. If you want to really look sharp for the Friday night lights, remember to mention Orange Bloods Live at ponchooutdoors.com. Let's introduce the Outsiders. Oh, they are two happy guys today. Your upper left is the quarterback. It's Mach 5. Not only did his Longhorns do that, his Buffalo Bills beat Kyler Murray, and I'd like to thank him for that. Chance Mach, how are you?
Oh, I could not be any better. Had a fantastic Saturday. Sunday started off a little bit, oh, God, this is how it's going to be this year. But then Superman took over. So it was a great weekend for us. And it felt like a Monday that I'm going to be real honest. It was so hard to work today because all I really felt like doing was consuming sports talk shows and listening to people, whether it be House Divided Friends or if it was our friends in WGR up in Buffalo, New York. It was a great day, but I pulled it together. I worked, and now I'm here with you guys.
Yes, indeed. And since we only have 3, that means we're running the T formation tonight. Our old school wing T quarterback is the country gorilla, Bo Edge, in his all gas, no brakes hat. What's up, Bo?
Well, when someone is wrong, they must admit they were wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I was wrong when I said that Michigan may be a trap. It was a trap for them to think they could score on our defense. I'm sorry, bastards. We kicked their ass. The reverse jinx was in. I sold it well.
Nice job, Bo. Nice job, Bo Edge. Yes, Bo did have a close prediction like me last week with a 26-20. I was at 24-20 and got hammered in that post-game show. Whatever the folks needed to do to enjoy that one. Smash the like button, says Mitchell. We appreciate all the likes. Subscribe. Get your notifications. Thank you for all of the support that you've given Orange Bloods Live. If you want to jump in with your thoughts about what you saw Saturday, please let us know. Alan threw in didn't know what was coming, Bo. Hook 'em emoji. All right, boys, 31-12 was the final score. Chance, I'll give you the first reaction. Give me your first thoughts on it.
My first thought is Texas is who we thought they were, and Michigan is who we thought they were. I think what was the biggest surprise for me coming out of that game is how well our offensive line played against that defensive front from Michigan. I really, really thought that was the only concerning point I had, because I don't care how good the DBs are. There's only so many of them, and we've got a lot of speed. We knew that. The question was going to be, was Quinn going to have time to get the ball off? Where are we going to be able to have a running game? And I think Texas came in, and I mean, our boy X, he said it best. They came in 10 toes down, belt to ass, and that's exactly what it was. Texas came out early, punched them in the mouth, and they showed a little bit of attitude. I'm still in shock that it was not a roughing the passer when Quinn takes a knee and we get 3 steps and then you hit the quarterback, and that's just okay. But, it was great. You watch those linemen, they had a little – I like that. I want to see my big boys getting into people's faces. I thought the offensive line, to me, look, everybody played well. You don't go in and do that to the defending national champion. I don't care if they lost 13 players. We lost 11 to the NFL draft. Granted, some of their positions were a little bit more difficult to fill. We lost 2 first-round wide receivers, and look what we put on the field versus them, right? So, hey, hats off. Sark had his team ready. I loved the game plan. I thought it was great.
Bo Edge, 31-12, and it could have been worse than that. What'd you think?
I thought that the interior offensive line Chance alluded to it, but I want to really hit on the point. They deserve so much credit for what transpired on Saturday in Ann Arbor. Quinn had to step up a few times, which he did very well, but they blocked 2 NFL defensive tackles, and they're not in the stat sheet, or at least not of consequence. And that was what I was afraid of. I was afraid of the Michigan interior being able to put pressure in Quinn's face throughout the day. I never doubted Texas was going to win the game. I just thought they'd keep him honest. Screw honest. Jake Majors and DJ Campbell and others dominated. And then the second part, and I don't know how to say this without sounding like a Sark fanboy, but y'all know that I am and have been for multiple years. The game plan was perfection. We talked about how Sark has spent 9 months on a whiteboard preparing for Michigan, that he may not have done that for the first game. Who comes out against Michigan and throws nothing but little short passes to the outside? The game plan was designed to nullify the interior, but he did it in a way that got his playmakers in space and then opened up the middle of the field for bigger plays to guys like Gunnar Helm, who is going to end up being a top 3-round draft pick at tight end. And I don't think many people saw that one coming.
God, he looks great. Chance, those early reports in the spring about him being a little more twitchy than you'd think, a little more athletic than you'd think. He showed it off against Colorado State on that long catch and run, and then he gets open again against Michigan. There's going to be just big moment after big moment for 85 all year long. Runs good routes, catches the ball well. I mean, if he's the last thing you're thinking about as a defense, you're going to be in trouble.
Well, and he's perfect. We talk about it all the time. As a quarterback, your tight end is your safety blanket. That's the guy you go to. And he is looking more and more. I mean, like, he's not as big as Gronk. I get it. But, I mean, he's a big human being out there, and he moves really, really well. And he catches the ball well with his hand. He is going to create some massive, massive matchup problems for people because you've got to worry about the speed outside. I mean, our boy, since Jason's not here, I'll say it, Jadon Blue, the backs out of the backfield catching swing passes and linebackers trying to run them down just don't have a chance. They can hit you from all over.
Yeah.
The only problem with Jadon Blue is he's so fast at running the ball. He's also so fast at missing the play call and going the wrong direction sometimes, which is how Quinn got lit. I mean, I'm like, that's a problem. It wasn't a problem now, but that needs to be fixed before, let's say, I don't know, Georgia, Oklahoma. Like, let's not lose red zone possessions because you ran the wrong direction.
That's probably a good idea. To y'all's comment on the O-line, Sandman jumped in. Our O-line's been trained by Sweat and Murphy. That's a good point. They literally went up against them every single practice last year. They are built for this. Bo, you and I saw this game similarly going in terms of why we were picking a closer score. I did think that interior Michigan D-line was at least going to hold up. I thought they were going to there'd be a test early on. I did not think Texas. And even with that first drive that gets nullified by some penalties, miss a field goal, it really results in, technically results in nothing. They still just continued to push him around. It was impressive. The O-line just did whatever they wanted to do, which is a great warm-up for, obviously, Oklahoma and Georgia coming.
That first drive was indicative of what was wrong with Texas 2, 3, 5, 7 years ago. Like, that's when Texas would go off the rails. They have the talent. They come out. They have a game plan. And then things just go bad. And you watch the replay. Cam Williams earned every one of the false start penalties. That wasn't a hold.
The hold was bad.
That was a touchdown throw by Quinn Ewers to come up in the pocket, to force the issue, and to throw a dot. Like, that was a touchdown pass that held up. But in the past, that's the kind of thing that Texas spirals down the toilet because now they're in their heads. They're worried. The next drive, Michigan runs it 16 times and scores. That's not what happened. 3 and out. Texas gets the ball and goes right back and puts it in their ass. It was great.
Yeah.
Well, and if you want to know greatness, number one, I had the opportunity to go to watch a game from Kyle Field for the first time since 2004, which I did. And it just so happened that that game was on the big screen, and I had a blast. By the way, Kyle Field's a cool place to watch a game from. They've done a nice job in there. They really have. But it was really kind of super cool watching the Aggie fans as Texas was mud stomping Michigan, going, oh my God, really? This is what we're going to have to deal with? It was a very different perspective. And I started the day off on not such a good note because I was sitting there waiting to get a frosty cold Dos Equis for myself and a nice little drink for my beautiful date. And these two idiots were talking. And it was right before kickoff. It was like 11:02. And they're like, oh, I can't wait to watch Texas. They're going to get absolutely stomped. They're the most overrated team every year. Everybody just gives Texas love. They're going to get ass whipped. And I was like, we're going to win by 2 fucking scores. Like out of nowhere. Like I couldn't take it. I was standing behind these guys.
You blurted it out?
I did.
Now, were you wearing Texas gear or not?
No, I went neutral. I went white poncho shirt with black shorts. So,
dude, Chance, you know how I feel about being open-minded when it comes to sports, but I could not believe when you sent that picture. I was like, what the hell are you doing there? Your team's playing Michigan.
Hey, the love of a good woman will take you a lot of places. I can assure you that.
God love her.
And
God love her.
I had a blast too. Like it was a lot of fun. It obviously would have been more fun if it wasn't McNeese State.
I was going to say, you picked a game that was particularly fun for the Aggies. That's good. Yeah.
Well,
that was very prudent. You picked a game they could win. Like,
there you go.
Don't pick a game where you're going to be butthurt at the end.
Got to get back on that horse. Got to get that confidence back, gentlemen.
I went to the game.
Northern Illinois shot that horse in the head.
Bo, I went to the game where I don't know if you're aware of this, but it is Aggie tradition that you get to kiss your date every time they score. So I picked a very good game, my friend.
That's true. Good game for that, Chance. Good job. That's Chances. They're like, oh, all these Aggie traditions aren't that stupid. Good grief. This isn't bad at all. Chance, I want to get you to comment on something here in a second. But first, we have a couple quick chats here. Somebody said the secondary playing awesome. Lone Star Smoke. Specifically, Makuba stood out to me, guys. I mean, you talk about a transfer that you kind of felt like would work out, and in a big game, he really shows up. Number 4 was flying all over the place, Bo.
Well, and that's, I think, going to be the beauty of this Texas secondary throughout the year. It'll be almost like 05 or 04 or 03. You don't know who's going to be the star of the game because whoever they don't attack is going to be the star of the game. Like Makuba was it this week. Every week it's going to be somebody else. There's going to be one constant, though, and we mentioned this at the beginning. Muhammad is the constant.
Yeah,
he is the anchor to that. He is the lockdown guy. He's the one that tipped one of the balls in the air that was gotten for an interception. Muhammad's the constant, and then the other guys are all, I don't want to diminish it and say role players, but they all play their part. So every week it could be someone different. One week it'll be Taft. One week it'll be Derek Williams. One week it'll be Jalen Gilbo. But that's the beauty of a championship caliber team is you don't rely on one guy. Hey, Colorado, take notes. You can't rely on one guy. Like that's the whole point is Texas has dudes everywhere and they have depth. This is what Texas and Sark have been trying to build to. This is the Georgia model, the Alabama model, to a non-winning but go to the playoffs every year extent, the Ohio State model. Load up talent, and you're not dependent on one person.
And by the way, of course, Texas ends up in the number. Speaking of Ohio State, Texas passes Ohio State. If you look carefully in the background, the Bills pin is splitting Texas and Ohio State, with Texas on the 2 side and Ohio State on the 3 side of the AP poll. Georgia still sitting at number 1. And oh, looky there, we got our first super chat of the night. Blake with a $2 super chat. For Chance's Walmart's sake, was it great value brand?
I think that word is sucky.
Oh, sorry. For Chance's Walmart sake. My bad.
Maybe you drank too much of the sake to think that the word was
it great? I swear this is just water. Was it great value sake?
There was nothing great about it.
The value.
No, it wasn't even good value. It was like $7.
But you got the little mini Yeti cup with it.
No, I had to buy that Yeti cup, Bo.
Yeah, that's not good.
No
Like,
value. For
No
people
value.
And what you drinking Wednesday is the little Yeti coming back out?
Yeah.
Just not the sake.
No,
not that sake.
No,
Not
the
that
sake.
sake ever again.
Not the sake. All right. It is The Outsiders, brought to you by Poncho Outdoors. Jump on in. If you want to throw a super chat our way, you can do it. React to what you saw. We're specifically talking some quarterback tonight, how good Quinn looked, Heisman opportunity. There's lists out there that definitely have Quinn, and some of them have him right up top. We'll get to all that and get Chance's breakdown on Quinn, how he would play Quinn and Arch in these next couple games if they go like we think they might go. Right now, though, let's hear from the good folks at Covert Ford.
With Covert Ford of Austin, all season we're bringing the football fun to you with unbeatable deals on our all-new Ford F-150s. Whether you're tailgating with friends or cruising to the big game, our powerful trucks are your perfect MVP. Come experience the rugged performance and cutting-edge features that make every drive an experience. Touchdown savings await at Covert Ford of Austin, a family tradition since 1909. CovertFord.com.
Covert Ford, right there on 183. Go see our boy Chris Abbott, right there at 183. That is the premier Ford dealership in all of Central Texas, and they pride themselves on always having a covert on the sales floor. You can go see Kenny or some of the other coverts walking around, but the reason you go to Covert is to be taken care of. They've been in business over 100 years, and you don't get that far unless you take care of your people. From the service department to the sales department, whatever you need, they get it done at Covert Ford. They have a variety of selections, from the F-150s like you just saw, to the Raptors, to the Broncos, to the Bronco Raptors. Looking for a car, they got the Mustangs. They got the entire Ford array of vehicles. Go see Chris Abbott at Covert Ford. You won't be disappointed.
Thanks to Covert Ford and all the great partners here at Orange Bloods Live as we get Chance Mock back in here and we get that going. We hope you're all having a good Monday. Texas wins 31-12 and moves up to number 2 in the poll. As I mentioned, they got 4 first place votes as well. Ohio State actually got one more first place vote, and Georgia's still getting a big hunk, 54 votes. It might have to come down to October 19th before Texas might take that spot. And speaking of, gentlemen, before we get to the quarterback conversation, our man Chris Bennett is throwing out some facts. Texas is great at ending long home winning streaks. 95 A&M, 31 games. 98 Nebraska, 47 games. Nebraska 02, 26 games. In 05, first team to beat Ohio State at night. 2023, Bama 21-game win streak. Michigan a 23-game win streak. And gentlemen, coming up on October 19th, Texas might really get to hang some history, or should I say prevent some history. If Georgia can win their next 4, they'll have the tie for the all-time record of regular season wins with one of those Bud Wilkins way back there Oklahoma teams. So Texas would have an opportunity to stop it and not allow Georgia to establish a new record. That could happen on October 19th. And if the rankings stick the same way, it'll only be the second time that a 1 versus 2 has ever happened at DKR. So history piled up. The only 1 versus 2. Y'all know it? Not that long ago.
Not that long ago?
Not that long ago. And I can give you a hint if you'd like a hint.
One hint. I know where my mind's at, but give me one hint.
There's your hint.
Cold?
Yes, sir.
Ohio State?
Ohio State 06. It's the only time number 1 and number 2 have ever played at DKR.
Were we that high coming off the national championship?
Yep.
I didn't remember being that high.
I didn't think we were that high after we won.
If I'm not mistaken, it was Texas that was 2 and Ohio State was 1.
I mean,
but yeah, 1 versus 2.
And Ohio State was very number 1 that night.
They were very number 1-ish. Yes. If you're a Texas fan, you don't want the same result on October 19th. That was 24-7 the other way.
And what I love about it is, and I was a little surprised at the reaction I got, but when I put out my number 1 and 2 for my Chronicle rankings and the Power SEC Power rankings, I said that in my opinion, the king has to be beaten before they're no longer the king. So I kept Georgia at 1 and Texas at 2, knowing those two teams play. Like this gets settled on the field. Yeah. So and then everybody came back and they weren't SEC champs last year. Well, no, but they haven't lost a regular season game since like 2021, maybe.
Right. Well, and they got to Atlanta last year. It's not like they sucked.
But Chance, and I don't disagree with you as far as the play on the field, but the old Ric Flair line, if you want to be the champ, you got to beat the champ.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Michigan was the one with the trophy in their case. We went to their house and dog stumped them. I still think we should be number 2 behind Georgia. I think Georgia's an incredible football team that has the impressive winning streak and has a lot of talent too. But right now, and let's be real, Georgia's win over Clemson looks a hell of a lot better on paper than Texas's win over Michigan, because I'm so happy Texas won, and I'm so happy Texas won the way they did. But with Davis Warren at quarterback, Michigan is not a top 10 team.
No.
It doesn't matter how good the other components are. If you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a team, and they don't have a quarterback. He is, in the immortal words of Tate Martell, ass.
He is, and it's not just that. To me, the immaturity. Look, John Bianco is one of the best that's ever done his job, and there was not a time that I ever walked into a post-game interview where he hadn't already briefed me on, hey, remember, these are the things they're going to ask you about. Be thinking this. Like they number one, we take a little bit of time before we go meet with the media so that we can get our thoughts together. But number 2, to have him go sitting there and say, we let Texas win. Like, you just took it on the chin, dude. It could have been, really and truly, that game could have been 45-6 very quickly and very easily if Texas wanted to. They didn't.
Texas could have wrote the score on an envelope and got whatever they wanted that day. Like they were playing around. They were playing cat and mouse with Michigan by the second half. Sark was just giggling on the inside, knowing he had 2 plays, and it was like, which one am I going to pick to beat them? Because both are going to work.
Yeah, it was impressive. And then I think that the other thing, guys, and this is what Georgia didn't do against Clemson for whatever the reason. I'm not saying this makes Texas better, but the feel of the game was so different. Georgia and Clemson was early rock fight, low score. It developed into a Georgia butt kicking. They kicked ass on the backside of the game. For Texas to jump Michigan as fast as they did. Fellas, 8 out of 10 on third down in the first half. 8 chance. Did you ever have 8 out of 10 in a first half? That's just, I mean, you talk about smashing somebody. That was so impressive.
So our goal was always 65%. 65% third down was, that was on our goal.
That's rocking. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was our goal sheet each week. Did we always get there? No. I mean, if you can be at 60%, you're good. If you can be at 50%, you're going to win a lot of ball games. But 80% in the first half with Quinn Ewers throwing for 200 yards, and they didn't have an answer for him. And we'll get into breaking down the quarterback in a little bit. But what was the most important thing to me is Quinn never looked rattled. Even in the very rare times when he had to step up in the pocket, his eyes were downfield. He seemed very confident in what they were doing. And by the way, Ryan Wingo coming out and getting his first carry for 55? Did he go 55? He happened to get walked by a guy that's going to be a first-round DB, but he did break out. And I mean, just the power of that kid to be a true freshman and to have that much power. Just when he runs, he just looks strong.
He does.
Yeah, but it was like Xavier Worthy, just didn't have that much speed.
But Chad, here's the difference between those 2 games, and I think we'll see this story play out over the rest of the year. Clemson had Cade Klubnik, who kept them in the game as long. Like, he wasn't playing well, and I'm not trying to say that Klubnik had a great day, but the difference is Klubnik wasn't handing the ball over to the other team with stupidity. Warren was giving Texas turnovers because of his inability to be a Division I quarterback. It's a great story. The kid that had cancer in high school and walked on, all those things. You're the defending national champs, and you're starting a guy that wouldn't even make Texas's top 100. I'm sorry, Davis Warren wouldn't get in the quarterback room at Texas.
Yeah,
he doesn't belong. Like, Cole Lord is better than Davis Warren. Like that's all. Like, I'm not saying that is hyperbole. He's not good.
No.
They'll win in spite of him throughout the year. Georgia beat a very good quarterback. Now, I'm not trying to diminish what Texas's defense did, but they beat it. It would be like Chance going up to the playground at the local elementary school and beating up the kids, because that's what it looked like. Like, there was no point.
Peyton Manning style.
Once the game started, and I'm not saying this to be arrogant Texas fan, by the end of the first quarter, you knew Michigan was never going to mount a drive. Like, there was no point where Texas fans were even concerned, because Michigan was never going 70 yards. Like, they were one-dimensional, because once we could stop the run, nobody feared that dude passing. And they don't have an elite receiver core anywhere, but nobody feared that guy.
What was the score when y'all knew it was over?
17-3.
Mine was 14-3, but yeah, right around that neighborhood.
When it was 14-3, I was still like, well, if they bust one, or this is when Michigan gets their kickoff return, or Texas makes a stupid penalty and they get a bonus down, and next thing you know, something happens. But that's that Texas fandom that we've had since 2009.
Right.
Like, where you're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. You're like, when's the problem going to happen? When's the bad thing going to happen? When's the call not like –
Well, but it started like that, Bo. If you think about it, we went down and moved the ball on them like nobody's business,
and got nothing.
And then we get the touchdown called back, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we get Bert Otterbarn comes back and goes. As a Bills fan, it's the worst thing in the world to go wide right.
Bert Otterbarn.
He still has that shirt. Bert Otterbarn is my kicker that Chance made. Is my kicker.
That's what he gets to be when he misses. But, I mean, he came back and he did fine. I have much more confidence. But it did start with one of those like, oh, my God, is this the way that today's going to go?
No, that was the old tech. Like, but it's been ingrained in us as Texas fans over the last few years. Like, that's the kind of stupid things that happen. You do everything right. You make the drive. You pick up 3 third downs, and a couple of them are more than 3rd and 5. And then you have a penalty. Now, it turns out it wasn't a penalty. It was a bad call. But
call.
Touchdown nullified. Yeah. Then your supposed all SEC kicker misses wide right. You're like, oh, great. Here we go again. Now Michigan's going to bust one on us, and we're chasing them, and it's everything we didn't want to happen. We took the ball to open the kick because we wanted to go right down the field and score and make them chase us, and then we blew it. But then they blew it worse because our defense stepped up, and there was no rattling Quinn. Like, that's the part that impresses me most about Quinn Ewers is his demeanor didn't change. He didn't have that drive, and all of a sudden he's on the sideline yelling at every offensive lineman, trying to rally the troops. He's calm, he's collected, and they follow him. That's why he's the starter.
We got a super chat, $5 from Hooked on the Horns. Thank you, Hooked. Seeing the videos of our fans singing the Eyes of Texas and March Grandioso after the game was euphoric. There you go. Go to Ann Arbor. They said 100 versus 100,000, fellas. It definitely felt like more than 100 people. The more than 100 Longhorn fans made that trip. There were thousands of them singing at the end while Michigan fans were headed to their tailgates. Or
no, I think they were headed to their houses to cry.
Yeah.
That was such a cool thing for me, though, because a stadium remember, it was going to be a maze out, and there was all this stuff. And then you see burnt orange everywhere. And then the post-game videos of the eyes being played, and it looks like, it literally looks like a third of the stadium was still there and in burnt orange. Like, that was you have to give a lot of love to the Texas fans, because they were, the Texas fans showed up and showed out in big force.
Did you guys hear any stories of Michigan fans being out of whack after the game? Because I never did. Anything get burned or tore up or
That's Ohio State fans?
Belligerent? They kept it cool. I'm glad to hear that. I'm excited. Baseball clap for Michigan, because I thought they were going to flip out if Texas did that.
Every Michigan fan that I've seen around these parts was complimentary. They're classy. And everybody that I know that went up to Ann Arbor said the exact same thing.
Yeah. Well, it's also one of those games. That's one of those games, guys, that if after it's over, a Michigan player wants to fight a Texas player, I'd be like, really? You didn't, in 3.5 hours, you didn't have that feat? Like, you had a long time to get ready for that one. Don't act like they just beat you Dusty Mangum style. That is not what just happened. Like, they dominated you. You need to be ready for that. I guess that's what the fans were, prepared for. They knew it. They knew it when I knew.
Well,
and we all knew at 14-3 and 17-3.
But I mean, I think we talked about this on the Thursday game. If you on the Thursday show or Wednesday, I'm still in the Thursday mode.
Yeah, that's a lot of Dos Equis at Kyle Field now. Come on.
That's right, baby. But no, we said it on Wednesday, right? Like, their fans knew what they were walking into. Did they have hope? Absolutely they did. But I think in the back of their minds they knew, and all it took was Texas coming out and dominating early. Like, we talked about it. We can't let them hang around, because then they kind of start believing maybe we got a chance. And then that's when those crazy things happen. What they did was they came out and they punched them early, and the Michigan fans went, oh, we don't have a chance. Like, they saw that speed, and they saw the size, and they saw the power of the offensive line against that defensive line that was supposed to be like that they could hang their hat on. And they started just being pushed around, and they went, they are who we thought they were, except for that one guy who said they were going to hold Texas offense. All you got to do is hold that offense 10 points. That's it.
That's all you got to do.
We're not asking for much here.
Hey, for the record, even if Michigan had done that, Bert Auburn still got a chance to kick a field goal to win it. I'm just saying, it would have been 12-10 at that point, fellas. Texas, I feel confident they could have gotten one more drive.
I feel confident Texas could have got whatever they wanted, but you almost have to feel bad for Michigan fans. After the highs of what they just went through, they have the rest of the season knowing they have no chance. Like, they are literally just praying for the fact that they can come up and upset Ohio State, because their season is lost. That team is not making the playoff. They know that team is not making the playoffs. They have losses in their future. I mean, as a Texas fan, you hope they win, because it boosts our credibility. But this isn't Alabama last year, where Texas won the game and Milroe got benched for a little bit for Ty Simpson. And you were like, oh, Alabama, they're not as good as we thought they are. And then they rose up and became Alabama playoff team. This Michigan team isn't going to surprise anybody and get to the playoff. This Michigan team has significant holes.
I was going to ask you guys, I hadn't thought of this yet this season, but I think it's a perfect time to ask it, since this is one of those massive non-conference games. Do y'all really care the rest of the year what Michigan does? Because we used to tell fans to care. 12-team playoff now chance, like whatever the committee will do, they'll do. Do you really care if Michigan loses 4 or 5?
I really don't care, because it doesn't matter. We're in the spot we need to be in. All we have to do is take care of our business. I mean, they may jump Ohio State, jump us, or, you may get some Ole Miss goober that whatever. But we're in a position where all we have to do is win. So I could give a shit what Michigan does. Yeah. As long as we win the games that we have to play, it doesn't matter. Like,
now it'll help, obviously. Like, Bo, I'm not trying to say it wouldn't help at all. Last year, Texas beating a team that ends up in the playoff on the road by 10, that was not unimportant. In fact, it was critical to the committee, and they gave Texas credit for it no matter what else was going to happen. But I just wonder, like, now, if Michigan drops another 1 or 2, does the committee still look back and go, hey, Texas went and played a top 10 team that day in Ann Arbor. We still got to give them credit for it.
Well, I think it depends on how it takes place. I mean, let's be real. Like, if Michigan goes and gets boat raced by Indiana, that makes it look less impressive. If Michigan loses to Penn State, loses to Ohio State, who, if there is a God, that I hope Michigan can beat Ohio State, just because that'd be funny, because I hate everything about Ohio State because their fans are terrible. But if Michigan loses to the teams that they should lose to based on ranking and whatnot, it's not a big deal. You don't want Michigan going out and getting beat by Northwestern by 25 points at home. Like, it doesn't affect Texas. Chance is right. If Texas does their business, goes 10-2 or better, they're in the playoff, and then we'll see how the dust settles. And really all that matters is whether or not they win the SEC and get the bye. But you want to see Michigan. Like, I'm not secretly rooting for Michigan or whatever, but God, can you imagine what that Michigan-Iowa game is going to look like? Like, that might be the first.
Are you going to take the under?
I'm going to take a sleeping pill is what I'm going to take.
I mean, do you want to talk about the ultimate pickle fest? Davis Warren versus that Iowa offense. Woo, boy.
Yeah. And that was one thing, too. One of you guys said it last week. I heard the notion last week about this may be a better time to play Michigan than later in the season. I'm wondering if I'm not saying they're ever gonna be great, but if they ever did get Warren and Orgy and a little bit of that figured out, if that offensive line grows up a little bit, like I think they could get to the point where they're pretty good maybe later in the season. But this was the time to absolutely get them because they are still trying to figure it out right now.
I think you're going to see a lot more Alex Orgy in the future because I think they're going to see what they have with him because they know what they don't have with the other guy. But this is the defining moment of that game. This is the difference between Michigan play style, Texas playing style. The most creative play that Michigan ran all day, and it worked. It got them, I think, 22 or 23 yards. Texas was running all kinds of option routes and motion and two running backs going this. They had everything going. Michigan ran a 1967 flea flicker. Like that was Michigan's. Let's go in the lab with our whiteboard and let's come up with the most creative play we can catch them off guard with. A 22-yard flea flicker. That's the difference between a Sark offense and whatever the hell Michigan was running. It was like watching a dinosaur. Like
yeah, they thought they could they thought they absolutely could bash Texas with vanilla, and Sark kicked their ass with with lots of good cute.
Well,
his cute whip.
Them. Sark figured out the holes in that defense and maximized it. You're going to attack the middle. We're going to attack your flanks. We're going to flood three guys in an area where you only have two. You're going to have to adapt.
A question for both of you guys, because I've seen several tweets about this, and it is actually interesting. Does the way that Michigan, I get it, they lost 13 guys to the NFL draft, we lost 11, whatever. As bad as they look, I saw some people saying this makes the cheating in Connor Stallion looks even worse because it looks like without that, they're just a completely different team.
Well, no, but that's somebody that obviously doesn't understand how football works. The reason Michigan wasn't as good wasn't because Connor Stallions, now they have headsets, so there is no sign stealing. But either way, it's losing McCarthy, who's not that good, but it was damn good for a college-level quarterback versus Davis Warren. It's losing Blake Corum. It's losing Roman Wilson. It's when the only offensive weapon you really have is Loveland, and he kicked one off his knee to give a freebie away. Like, Michigan didn't have the weapons. Like, that's not a knock on last year or Connor Stallions or any of that stuff. It's a knock on the fact that this is what happens when your coach bails on you late and you don't get the transfer portal guys that could have filled some of those gaps. They didn't go get receivers in the portal that they probably could have if they had a coach. Like, they could have gotten other guys if they had a coach.
What was going to come there with that quarterback room?
Well, but they could have got a quarterback, but no quarterback was going to go to a team that didn't have a coach.
Yeah. No. But, Chance, I think all of what Bo said is true. Plus, when you cheat to that degree and don't ultimately get punished by it by taking your title away, the fans get a right to throw an asterisk on it and say snarky things. So I think that's the cherry on top of it. Is it a big reason? Probably not, but they did it. They did it, and now this is the first season you're seeing past it. They've lost a lot of stuff, but they've also lost that ability. They've lost the ability to cheat on that level.
Maybe we just disagree on what actually transpired. They stole signs. They figured out a way to manipulate the yellow poster board picture of Fonzie and a picture of a shark and know what play was coming. That's not like they walked into the offensive play room at the other team and wrote down their script. I mean, hell, 25 years ago, Mike Leach dropped a fake play script on the field for Texas to pick up. That's gamesmanship. It's not cheat.
Not even close. That's not even close to the same thing. They did what the Astros did, Bo. They were told specifically not to do something, and they did that something and just kept going.
And they got punished for it, and that's fine.
Did they? Did they get punished? Describe the punishment for me.
Do you really think Michigan won a national title because they had some freaking naval nerd deciphering signals? The national championship game when they won over Washington, there were no sign stealing going on.
Tell me this. There was, and I can't remember if it was Penn State or who it was, had a player come out and say, they had a set that they had game planned just for Michigan. They had not run it one time ever. And as soon as they got into the set, Michigan's defense starts yelling, watch the swing, or whatever the play was that they were about to run. And it was exactly that play that had never been run. It was a brand new play just put in for the Michigan game. How do you can't tell me that's not an advantage.
Oh, it is an advantage. And you can be mad at it and you can call them cheaters and whatever. I'm not disputing that. The players still have to play the game. And Michigan won last year with their archaic pound you in the mouth style with Blake Corum and others. That wasn't because of sign stealing. Like, their physical domination of other teams, could it have been the thing that tilted the seesaw a little bit their direction that maybe got them another win or got them a win that they might have lost? Potentially. But let's not act like it's a 4-8 team that because they had some guy named Connor Stallions all of a sudden became national champs.
All I know
a talented team.
But there's a lot of talented teams. All I know is the only reason that you do cheat is because when you're that good and you're the upper echelon, the top 4 or 5 teams in the country, the margin of error is so small. That's why people look for that little edge, that little bitty tiny whatever it is. And it can start with you've got linemen that are how they set up in their stance, defensive linemen, DBs. You're looking for all that stuff. And I'm just saying, when you're talking about that elite level, the high game, the big pressure games, when it can come down to 2 or 3 plays that change the entire outcome of a game, those things matter.
Yeah. All right, fellas, let's move on to some Texas quarterback talk. I don't want to rehash all that last year. They cheated last year. They won it last year, and Texas just whipped their ass. They could have screamed out every play they were going to run. They were Michigan wasn't winning that game. It didn't matter. Thankfully, somebody finally they did get punished. I was wrong. They did get punished, Bo. 31-12 was their punishment, I think, for what happened. Chance, before we talk some quarterbacks, I know we're going to talk about that other Arch, but I want you to talk about Arch Public. Tell the people what they've done for you.
Arch Public has been absolutely phenomenal. It's one of those things. We talk about having a better game plan and how Sark just absolutely had a dominant game plan over Michigan. Well, look, when you're playing in the market and you're trying to make a little bit of money, you want to be able to have the dominant game plan, right? Well, you also want to be able to cheat a little bit. Well, Arch Public provides a cheat code. Basically, what it is they use algorithms to swing the odds of finding favorable trades on the market opening, the gap strategy. That's what they do. They take it. It's all your money. This is what they've done in the last 90 days. Just under 20% with that gateway strategy. I'm over 32% right now that I've made just since May. That's some good stuff. Now, we're not financial advisors. We're not any of that, and the money stays in your hands. But what we can do is set up a meeting with you, Tillman, and Andrew so that you can decide, is this right for you? Do you want to put computers – you want to put your future in the hands of computers that are going to make decisions that aren't emotional. They're just decisions that are data-driven. Arch Public, they are the one to do it. thearchpublic.com, or scan that QR code, or just hit me up on Twitter. I'll be happy to introduce you.
All right, the Outsiders presented by Poncho Outdoors. Let me scan for some super chats here. Oh, there's one. Look at
There's
this.
one. It's got your name written all. Oh, yep.
And it's a nice one for $4.99. Thank you, Carrie. Outsiders is the best show on YouTube channel. Chad, props to you for being a sensible Aggie and taking the insults in stride. I appreciate you, Carrie. I appreciate you. We do have a great time here, and certainly a great time to be on Orange Bloods Live, because how could you feel any better right now? If you love the Texas Longhorns, how could you feel any better about what's going on? We did get a couple other super chats, fellas. $4.99 from Jose. I listened to a couple Michigan podcasts today. All reactions to the UT game seemed the same. UT has the biggest and fastest teams they have ever played. That makes sense because, guys, we talked last week about how it's the fastest team we could remember in a long time. Chance, it's the fastest Texas team you said you may have ever seen.
I think top to bottom, it is the fastest Texas team I've ever seen, including any of the teams that I played on, even including that 2005 national championship team. They just have so much speed, from the edge rushers to the linebackers to the DBs, the wide receivers. I mean, the running back room is full of speed. They got a tight end that is massive, and they're just different. Sark, he hasn't modeled the way he coaches games so much after what Kirby Smart's done and what Nick Saban did, but he did learn from those two how to build a team. And he's built a team on big, fast guys. He's built the team because he saw that, like Bo said, when you have the players, when you have the dudes, it makes it a whole lot easier. Not to mention when you're a good coach and you have the dudes, that's how you become championship calibers.
And it's mixing the recruiting style too. Like it's 5 stars like Kelvin Banks with projects highly rated, but projects like Cam Williams. And not because you have depth and because you build the program correctly, Cam Williams didn't get on the field until he was at least ready to start playing. So, yes, he made a couple mistakes in that game because it was his first game in a place like the Big House, and he had some false starts with a loud crowd. But guess what? Cam Williams in the first game looked great. He will look great many other games this year because he was put in the right way. Like, it's not forcing Anthony Hill on the field first play of his freshman year. It's allowing him to acclimate to the system. It's like what they're doing with Arch. A lot of the guys didn't come in as hot shots and start right away. Look at Ryan Wingo. Made a huge play in the game, but he's not starting. Maybe by the end of the year he will be, but Sark has a way and a methodology, which he has learned from Saban and Smart and Pete Carroll and others he's been with. You build these guys up and then you release them. You don't just try to harness it all in the first shot.
Jose, we appreciate the super chat. If you want to throw us a super chat, it'll go right to the top of the list. Thank you so much for jumping in. Like, subscribe, get your notifications. Chance Mock, I'm going to present you with it's kind of a hypothetical, but it's also what you think should happen these next couple games. Let's take the next two. Mississippi State's the first SEC game, but these next two non-conference, especially with what UTSA just ate at the hands of Texas State.
Oh.
These feel like games Texas should be able to handle. So give me from your perspective, let's go back in time. Let's try to balance this out. Let's go back in time and say, I'll say it for you so you don't have to. Let's go back in time and say things had been handled with you and Mr. Young the way it should have been. You're the starter, you're the guy, and the coach comes to you and says, how do you want this to play out? We need to get Vince some time. How do you want it to play out? Then transition your thoughts to Quinn and Arch. If you were Quinn, how would you want to see these games play out on number 3? How much do you need? And then if we're doing this at this time, can we let 16 have some?
So there's a couple things. Going back, I think Quinn's situation is a little different because while there are fans that want to see Arch play, I think fans are very comfortable with where Quinn's at. He's proven now he's won big games. He took them to a Big 12 championship. I mean, he beat Alabama and Alabama. He's shown, so he's comfortable. I think he gets it. For me, I was never given that luxury. So I would have preferred Vince never saw the field because anytime he got on the field, it gave him an opportunity. But if you remember the year that I started, they were getting Vince ready. And every third series, Vince would come in and get a series. I hated it. A lot of the receivers hated it. It's hard. Your cadence, your snap counts change. The way you call we were running 2 really different offenses at that time. So everything changes with Arch, though. I think Quinn should be comfortable enough, and I've got a weird thought about this, and we'll see how it plays out. Arch has to get his numbers. Getting a Heisman, at least being in New York, if not winning it, he's going to have to put up the numbers. So I think it may give an opportunity, and Arch needs to see.
You mean Quinn?
Yeah, Quinn. Quinn being so Quinn. We want him to at least be in New York. That's good for Texas football. It's really good for Texas football. But at the same time, Arch needs to get his reps. And so in my mind, he needs to get reps against the first team, like first team defenses in the next 2 weeks. He needs to get those reps where he's able to throw the ball, do some real things, and feel the pressure of the actual game while Quinn still got it. And I think by throwing him in a drive or 2 or 3, you can actually extend Quinn into the game a little bit because you're taking away reps that he's going to get against first team, and you can almost pad stats later in the game for him because he has to get his numbers. I'm sorry if he's throwing for 185 yards and we've run for, another 150, and we're up on teams, 35-3 at half, and he gets pulled. Like, those numbers are not going to help him. And so you got to get a mixture of both. And I think Quinn's really, really – there's an air about Quinn right now. He is very confident in what he's doing. He has a lot of trust in what Sark's doing. And if they came up to him and I'm in his shoes and they're like, look, we got to get the young guy some snaps against first team D, I think Quinn's like, absolutely, get him in there. Let's see what he can do. And I think Quinn will be his biggest fan.
Yeah. Bo, let me tell you what I want to see. I would love to see that momentum go into the third quarter a little bit and treat it like NFL teams used to do that last preseason, the dress rehearsal kind of game. That's what I'd want. On a lower level, let me be clear before I say this example. On a lower level, A&M this past week, they took Wigman out before halftime. And I just remember thinking, well, that's just too soon. Too soon for a lot of reasons, mainly because of what had happened the week before. But I like to see that rhythm go over halftime. Chance knows how important that is. Into half, come back in the third quarter. To me, it's like maybe a drive or two into the third quarter would be the perfect time. If you're killing UTSA, that's when I'd go to Arch.
Well, see, I would handle it slightly different only because of the opponents. UTSA lost by 30-plus to Texas State. Texas State's not a bad football team, but UTSA is coming off a 49-10 ass whooping. Mm-hmm. This isn't one of those where there's a chance they can play well, or it's a conference opponent, or it's a road game, or anything could happen. This is a bad football team. This is a team worse than Colorado State. This is a very bad football team. So what I'd like to see is Arch get in the second quarter. Texas get a lead, get up 21-3, 17-3, something like that, and have it scripted. Like, hey, assuming things go the way they're supposed to and we don't have turnovers or silly stuff, Arch is coming out in the second quarter at this timeline, and he gets 2 series. We're not yanking him after one bad throw. Let him go experience it where they're – and so then comes back.
You go 2 series with Arch, and then Quinn goes back?
And then Quinn comes back. Quinn does the halftime. Quinn comes out in the third quarter, and then Quinn hands over the reins in the fourth quarter, assuming it's a blowout at that point. But that's the whole point is it doesn't do Arch any good if you don't get him to throw the whole playbook. And I'm sorry, but Jeff Traylor is a very respected coach at UTSA, and Sark's not going to go run double motion, crazy crap up 35-3. He's not going to be that kind of coach. So I'd rather him give Arch the full complement of guys and then pull it back, and then Arch can come in the fourth quarter when it's second team. But I want Arch to get a series or 2, and it could just be 1. But the reason I'm saying 2 is you don't want to have him make 2 bad throws, and that's the resonating taste in his mouth for an entire week going into the ULM game. I'd rather him at least hit a couple of them and feel comfortable, because let's be real. There will come a point potentially in this season where Texas needs Arch Manning to be the starter because of injury, or you never know what it could be. But hell, last year on our playoff run, we needed a miracle from Malik Murphy to win the Kansas State game when he's throwing it off his shoe and stuff. We don't want Arch to look like that. We want Arch to get in there and be comfortable.
So, Chance, give me a starting quarterback's mindset on that. You good with 2 full series? What, you get on the exercise bike and try to keep the sweat going, and then you're going back in the game? You all right with that?
See, what I would rather see is kind of a hybrid of what Bo. I don't like the multiple series back to back per se, because that is a long time to sit on the sideline. But I could see, like, I could even see it being scripted. Hey, if we're up by 14 going into the second quarter, we're going to give Arch the first drive of the second quarter. Quinn, without a doubt, needs to, because there's going to be games where that 2-minute drill, I don't care how many times you've done it, it's important. And so Quinn needs to have, going into half, he needs to have coming out of half. And then maybe get Arch one more drive somewhere in the third quarter, depending on where it is. But if not, just let it go into the third, and then let him take the reins at the end of the third, beginning of the fourth.
I mean, I think Chance would attest. The reps are only valid if they're good reps. Like, just bringing a guy in to bring him isn't getting him the experience if he's playing with the guys, if he's playing with second-team receivers, if he's running a dumbed-down playbook. We need Arch to get 1 series, 1 possession with the full complement of plays to where you can see it took Quinn a little while to develop Quinn's ability to step up in the pocket now and make some of those throws. That wasn't there 2 years ago. He had to learn that skill. And the only way you learn that skill is to play the game, and you're not going to get it in practice. So let him go out there against a team that's trying to take his head off.
Well, and to that point, Chad, I think that first drive, you've got to give him an opportunity to throw the ball, pick up some first downs, because if he can get a first down or two, you can extend him to where he's getting 7-8 plays, and then it's just one drive. Quinn's back in, right? Yeah. What you don't want to do is go in and have him hand off, 3rd and 8, have to throw one down the field, and it's a bad throw, and then we're punting the ball, and now he's off, right? Like, that does nothing for him. If you're going to do that, I'd rather just not play him.
No, I'd rather not do that. If you're going to put Arch in, put him into play and not hand the ball off. That's why I'm saying I'd rather it be in the second quarter and not midway through the third, up 45-7 or something, where it's like, if you're doing anything other than handing it off, you're being a dick. There's a point where you got to stop. Like, this is an in-state team with in-state players. You're not trying to rub it in. Like, you can get better without, the reality is Texas could just hand the ball off to Gibson and Blue, who shouldn't be in the second half because he's already shown to be slightly injury prone. So let's get him out of the game. But Gibson and Wisner, they're going to run up and down the field either way. Like, I'm sorry, this is a write it down on paper, whatever score you want. UTSA is not good.
No, and their official Twitter handle is Meet Meep headquarters.
You see that, Chad?
That was funny. Telling Texas not to practice this week?
Hey, y'all played so good. Take the week off. You don't need to practice. It's all good.
That's funny. Yeah, that is funny. All right, it is The Outsiders, brought to you by Poncho Outdoors. Thanks to over 700 of you in the Specs chat. Before we do anything else, let's give Specs a little love. Get stocked up. Texas and UTSA is a 6 o'clock kick on Saturday. You can't drink all day unless you start in the morning. Here is Lisa.
Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
Also, Bo, let's tell the people about a new partner around here. And you sent our group an interesting picture today from picture from the game of a certain someone. We'll flash it up and you tell the people all about it.
That is Texas pride. That is somebody that hung around to watch the Texas bus at Michigan Stadium. That is the owner of Texas Hitch and Truck, son Ford Owen. There were a few other pictures. It was a great day for the family. Nick Owen is the owner of Texas Hitch and Truck right there. Their main location is on 183 in Burnett. They have two other locations, one in South Austin, one in San Antonio. Diehard Longhorn fans. I went to college with Nick Owen. He was a dedicated Iron Spike, and he bleeds burnt orange. He's been an Orange Blood subscriber for as long as they've had the website. If you have a truck, like you go get a truck at Covert and you want it to look right, the lift kit, the accessories, the stuff that puts shelving units in the back, whatever you need, wheels, tires, Texas Hitch and Truck Center is the place. You can ask Chance. 15 years ago, we were sending Aaron Williams and other guys to Texas Hitch to get their trucks accessorized because they do a great job and they love to take care of Longhorns. Not that they won't take care of Aggies, but they love to take care of Longhorns. Go in. Nick's always in there. He lives in that shop. Tell him you're a fan of the Outsiders, and he'll give you a deal. I promise you. Go see Texas Hitch and Truck.
Hey, Bo, any idea how old the kid is?
I want to say 9. He may be 10.
What do you think those two hands are doing in Dallas if that's OU's bus?
Well, I will say this. He comes from a classy family, much like the Michigan fans. He'll be putting up the hook'em horns. My son, Racer, I know what he'd be putting up.
That is fantastic.
I mean, this is different strokes for different folks.
Yeah.
And the dad that comes on here and says the F word so many times they have to have a jar.
That discussion we just had, guys, is the one. This really is the week for that. I think these next two games, I have not seen the line this week, but I'm guessing it's Texas by, if it's even a line, if it's even out there, what's it, 30 something? It's got to be, right?
I haven't looked it up. I honestly haven't looked it up. It's been a rough week at the Edge House, which I'll allude to at the end of the show. But after the game was over, I didn't look for the line.
Yeah, but it's one of those games. I mean, I'm thinking, I don't know, 40-something to 10 or less is the kind of game, at least, if not 50-something. So back in 05, just to give everybody the mindset, in 05, Texas scored 51 in each of the next two games after Ohio State. They won 51-10, I think was the first one, and then 51-20. So the opponent does not get over 20, and Texas scored 51 those next two games. We'll see what this group puts on UTSA and ULM over the next couple weeks.
So depending on which site you look at, Chad, it is around 34.5 to 33.5.
Yeah, there you go. So there's a 34.5. Just a dude said it's a 38-point spread.
I mean, it's a name the score. Like, this is the game that gets everybody a T-ring. And Chance knows what I'm talking about. This is a T-ring game. This is to get the reps so you can get the ring at the end of your playing career. This is when the backup punter gets to come in and boot one in the middle of the fourth quarter. Like, you got to get a snap to get a T-ring. This is a T-ring game.
Yeah, Text Guy says next three games should be straightforward, right? Text Guy, that third one is Mississippi State. In theory, yes, that's Blake Shapen and Mississippi State. They have not looked like world beaters yet. One other quick thing, guys, to remember this season. First ever historic SEC season, no divisions. Now, way back they didn't have divisions, but they've had them a long time. Now they don't. Remember, there's a tiebreaker that could come into play where how bad you beat somebody does matter. So if I'm Sark and I'm Texas, I make sure every other coach knows at midfield, like, you signed up for what we signed up for, right? If y'all can whip our ass, you whip it as much as you can. If we can whip your ass, we're going to keep whipping your ass. You understand that? Not with UTSA and ULM, but the more Texas beats Mississippi State, if they can do it, Bo, that's the better for them, because it could get compared later. Well, and beating them by a little more could literally get them to Atlanta.
In some instances, I would agree with you, but there are some teams, Mississippi State being one of them, that I think their coach plays dirty. And I think their players, those are the type of players that are going to take cheap shots and go for a knee, or like, if you're rubbing it in that bad on somebody, that's when somebody does something that could be detrimental to our season. That's when somebody takes a shot at Kelvin Banks' leg on purpose, because they're just turds. So against Vanderbilt, sure. Against some others, maybe. Mississippi State and Stark Vegas is not a team that I want to be. Go out, whoop their ass, and then just slow it down. We don't. At this point, we're number 2 in the country. We already beat Michigan at their house. We're going to get a game against Oklahoma at neutral site. We're going to get a game against Georgia. We're going to get the games. We don't need style points. This isn't 1998 where you need to run it up to get the polls. No, we handle our business. It doesn't matter how many we win by. If we win them all or win most of all of them, we're getting to the playoff, and then it's just a matter of whether we win the SEC and get the bye.
Okay.
54-7 against Mississippi State. 38-7 is sufficient.
So if sitting on a lead costs you Atlanta, is that okay with you as long as you're in the playoff?
I don't see a scenario where if we handle our business, we wouldn't be in Atlanta.
It's not about handling. I didn't say handle your business. It's about, it could just turn into math for you, where it's a tie between you and Georgia or you and Bama, and how bad you beat Mississippi State could matter.
I was wrong at the beginning of the year, or I'm at least going to say I was wrong, because I said that we would lose to Michigan, beat Georgia, and then lose to A&M. Those are our 2 losses, Michigan and A&M. I don't think either one of those are a loss now. So I really look at the schedule, and if we handle our business, there's only one potential loss on the calendar, and it's Georgia. And if we go with 1 loss in the SEC, and the 1 loss was to Georgia, who would be in the SEC title game, I'm not worried about anybody else jumping us. I'm really not. I think barring injury to Quinn Ewers, I mean this, barring injury to Quinn Ewers, we are in the playoff already. We have punched our ticket based on that one victory and where we sit in the polls now. All we have to do is not spike ourselves. There are no style points. We will get there. And I don't think it will become a math equation. This isn't 2008. Like, if our only loss is to Georgia, we're just fine.
All right, there you go. Look at that, the playoff guarantee at 2-0. That's why we threw Quinn up with a picture of the Atlanta building. That's important because that's where the SEC game is, and that's where the title game is.
Get what I'm saying? I'm saying our body of work last year and this year and where we sit, we don't need the extra credit anymore. We're the kid that has 100. All you have to do is keep making the hundreds. Now, if we screw it up and stub our toe and lose to somebody we shouldn't, like Oklahoma, that changes the whole dynamic. What I'm saying is we don't need the resume. We already built the damn resume. We already went to the playoff last year. We're a top 5 team, now a top 2 team. Like, we're in if we don't screw it up. And we're not going to – all the other teams up there have already screwed it up. Oregon just barely won. Ohio State looks like crap. Penn State had to struggle to beat Bowling Green. All these teams at the top already have their hiccup games.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, guys, let's also remember this. Remember, this year, that winning that conference championship game that some people want to get rid of, it is super important because it gets you a bye. If the conference champions were determined today, South Carolina is your SEC champion, Michigan State is your Big Ten champion, the ACC is either Boston College, Syracuse, or Virginia. The best G5 is Northern Illinois. And technically, there have been no Big 12 games because Baylor-Utah was not a conference game. We got a long way to go. Technically, the byes, there have only been about 5 games played that have anything to do with who gets a bye. Like, those are about to crank up and get started. It's interesting stuff.
It's kind of like I brought up the Clemson-Georgia game. Overreaction on that first game has made everybody think Clemson isn't very good. Well, Clemson, now it was Appalachian State, but Chad, I think you can attest, once in a while those boys can play, especially at their house. And Clemson went out and showed Appalachian State Clemson's a big boy football team. They lost to Georgia in the first game of the year where they struggled. They just didn't have it, and Georgia did. Clemson will be a good team this year, and I think they will. And I think Cade Klubnik will have a hell of a year because I think he's a talented quarterback. The first game doesn't matter if you recover from it. You know,
I cannot speak on Appalachian State at home. I can't speak on Appalachian State.
You can speak on them at your home.
when they come to you, it's fucking scary. That's all I know. Just ask Michigan.
So what you're saying is you want Appalachian State to pay you to go pay your Aggies to go up there?
Yes. Yes, pay them some money they can use for NIL to go to Boone, North Carolina.
I can tell you that Texas Tech doesn't want any piece of Appalachian State.
No, they don't. They
can barely beat Abilene Christian, and they just got their ass whooped by a team without a conference.
Oh, my Lord.
But according to their coach, they're going to run the Big 12.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Joey McGuire, you might be the first one to get fired this year. Like, of all the Division I schools, you might be the first.
All right, guys, before we get out of here, let me make sure we thank one last partner here, Bo, and that is Last Stand Hats. Yeah. We love the Last Stand hat. Bo's got one on right now. See that all gas, no brakes hat? He's got that one. I got the Outsiders hat right here. There's 12 different color combos on the Outsiders hat. You got a DBU hat. If you want to check that out, Occupy Left Field to support Coach Sloss and the baseball team, all that good stuff. Bo, Last Stand hats, we always tell them Outsiders 10 is that promo code to get those great deals. They are the true fans brand.
And they have a message. It was Mike Murphy, the owner and proprietor of Last Stand Hats, put this out on Twitter today, and I told him we would specifically mention it on the show. They made a mistake. He made a mistake, and he decided to hire an outside vendor to handle their shipping and website and order processing, and it was a mistake. He's always done it himself. He's now got a family, and he tried to diversify and do things, and it didn't work. And he realized now, after hearing from the Last Stand family, some of the orders weren't getting fulfilled on time and things of that nature. Mike put a message up on Twitter today, and this is what I was going to share with everybody that is a fan of the Last Stand product line. He's taking it back over. Everything will be shipped this week. He is solving the problem. He has acknowledged that there was a problem. He didn't realize there was a problem because they were calling the third-party vendor and not getting the runaround and whatever. No more runaround. You can email Mike Murphy directly. You can find him on Twitter. If you go to Last Stand's website, you can send them a message. If anything has happened with the shipping order in the last 6 to 8 weeks, just notify them and they will take care of you. They're a great company. We've been dealing with them on Super Cooper for the last 6 years when he just started the company. Last Stand really cares about its people. So go check out Last Stand hats.
There you go. All right. It is the Outsiders, and obviously talking lots and lots of Texas football after the win over Michigan. Chance, I wanted to get you to comment on something. As I watch the game, I'm always looking, sometimes I try to think of what I would feel if I was a Texas fan. I also try to think about what would I feel like if I was every other fan base, every other team Texas was going to face. And as I'm watching Quinn Ewers, I realize something deadly for everybody else. Sark is calling plays to fit Quinn's arm, I think, in a way that he hasn't before. The people that were begging for all the long shots last year, some were begging, and then some were kind of holding their breath like, really, Sark, why are you taking that many long shots? But it feels like he's really gotten comfortable with what Quinn does well. Mid-range, the shorter stuff. Bo was talking about it earlier, but it turns into a battering ram when you do it the right way. And that rollout throw to Golden on the right front or left front pylon, like that's the Vince pass at Kansas that I always go back to from 2004 that I loved so much. It's a tough throw to make. The throw to Helm is tough. That throw to Bond going down the seam early in the game on the 3rd and 13. Like, I just feel like Sark has finally gotten fully comfortable with to use the analogy, with the gun he's firing in Quinn Ewers' arm here. Are you seeing the same thing from the quarterback perspective?
I am. You've seen an evolution in the routes and the combinations that are being thrown. Quinn loves that mid-range. He loves the middle of the field. He feels very comfortable throwing that ball, and he has no problem stepping up. And and I love it. Most quarterback coaches hate it, but he steps up in the pocket and it's almost like the pregame drill when you run and you're working, just running down the line and throwing it. And he steps up in the pocket, keeps those feet moving, and it's just a flick. I mean, that throw to Helm was a big time throw. People don't realize you got to put that ball over the linebackers. You got to fit it in front of the safeties and not get your tight end killed. He put the ball in a spot where his guy was going to catch it and nobody else was. And I'm loving the way that they're using Quinn. I feel so comfortable with him right now. It's almost like I want to be very careful making this comparison because there's a lot of season to play, but it's almost like in 2019 watching Joe Burrow, like you just knew, just felt cool and calm, and he feels very much in tune with what the offense is trying to do. He feels on time with his receivers, even though he's only been with the guys for 1 year.
Well, yeah. When I say this, I'm not comparing him to the guy. When I say this, he has a Patrick Mahomes-like youthful exuberance when he's out there just playing football. Mahomes throws a lot of off-platform. He was a middle infielder, much like Quinn was when he played high school baseball. Like, he's just out there having fun. And the deep balls, like, yes, you complete them, and yes, when they're open, but that's not the fun throw for him. The fun throw is threading the needle. The fun throw is throw to Golden that most quarterbacks can't make. It's throwing that that corner to Bond up from this platform angle where when he's having fun, then the team has fun, and the huddle is fun, and the team's bouncing around, and it's not about me. I'm the receiver that needs to get the ball, because every receiver knows that they will get their turn with the ball because Quinn's going to go to the open guy. He's not playing favorites. It's not regimented football. Like, what Sark has done is made it fun. And I think he's saving some of those deep shots for a team that actually brings up the safeties to stop the run and says, okay, you're going to cut. Right now, they're not. They're giving that away. And so Sark's going to run and screen pass and screen pass and screen pass. Somebody, probably Oklahoma, to be honest with you, with Brent Venables, who's been watching all this tape, is going to run a bunch of things that blitz the center of the field. And that's when it's a play action bomb to Bond, or like he's saving those plays because you don't need them now. But right now he's letting Quinn have fun. He's letting this team grow and bond together. No pun intended.
And what I was saying, again, I'm like you, Bo. I'm not comparing him to the player, Joe Burrow. I'm comparing him to as a fan, my comfortability when he steps out on the field as my quarterback. Like you just feel very comfortable with where he's at right now. You feel always have a chance.
My comparison to Mahomes was, one, because of the off-platform stuff, but two, because when Mahomes makes a mistake, you don't see him throw his helmet or yell at other than maybe him and Kelsey on the sideline. He laughs and like, oops, I screwed that one up. Like that's like, you saw it. It's evident when DJ Campbell went and hit the guy that late hit Quinn that they didn't call. 2 years ago, nobody's defending Quinn in that capacity. Like, he didn't have that kind of relationship. He was much more to himself. He's not a loud, brash kind of guy. Well, you know what? Neither is Mahomes. Like, if you watch Mahomes, he's not looking for press. He's not looking for pub. He just wants
his brother got all those genes, Bo.
Yeah, no. I don't know if Quinn has a brother, but if he does, he can be famous.
No, I'm saying Mahomes' brother got all those genes.
Yeah,
because Mahomes' brother is loud.
I'll tell you the other passes I love, guys, and it's not flashy. It's not one fans look for. And Chance, the dumbest reason to call swing passes is if your quarterback can't throw them. If you can't throw that wheel, if you can't throw the swing, if you can't throw the little – but when you can throw it like Quinn throws it, man, they're going to kill people with those routes. Wisner coming out of the backfield. The Juan Davis play, are you serious? You put Juan Davis in that just screams, this guy's going to block. Hey, there's a blocking tight end. Guys, blocking tight end. Big 81. Somebody's going to have – and you just pull him out and just have him run a little route, and he turns and catches the ball. It looks powerful. It turns into something a little fancy. And then you got to go tackle that big bastard. That's great play calling. And Chance, you know it better than anybody. Getting those passes to be perfect, it's not easy. It looks easy when fans watch it. Those little bitty swing passes. But they're a thing of beauty, especially when you can kick them out to a dude as freaky as Wisner. And Blue. Jaden Blue does an incredible job with those routes.
Well, I mean, I can tell you right now, everybody will laugh. The swing pass to the running back is the hardest pass in football to throw. It is incredibly difficult. And I don't know, there's a lot of reasons why it is. There's guys that struggle with that a lot. They throw it too far upfield and, or they throw it behind a guy and it slows. But the way Quinn's able to lay it out there to those backs and make it a catchable football where they can catch it in stride, and now you got a foot race with those two speed demons versus linebackers chasing them.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah. I mean, it was Bo, that was so cool for me to see. I wanted more Keelan Robinson when he was at Texas with those kind of routes. And I was hoping Wisner could be that guy because I think he's just wonderfully versatile. And I think it's going to show up there. And Blue. I mean, and maybe we've just scratched the surface because there's all kinds of guys. Maybe Jarrett Gibson gets to run that route a little bit too. I don't know, but that's fun stuff.
That's the one play that makes me miss CJ Baxter this year, because I really think CJ Baxter is so well acclimated to that. You saw some of it last year. I just thought that play was going to work so much this year with Baxter, because it's the shame that we didn't have Bijan an extra year, because I think Bijan and Quinn, once Quinn got comfortable, could have been the most dynamic running back quarterback throwing duo of all time.
Yeah. I think you're right. I'll give y'all another play to be proud of, and y'all will both know it. You know the play where Jarrett Gibson gets that run for first down? They ran they had two tight ends in. They pulled one of the tight ends. They led him into the hole, and he goes and gets a first down run inside the 10. Y'all remember that run I'm talking about?
So patient.
Great patient run. The blocking was incredible. You know what the down and distance was on that play? It was 2nd and 10. You want to talk about go to the big house and just – if you didn't know Texas was winning before that play, I think that might – and also, guys, that's after Blue had gone out, where he may have been hurt. For all we knew, he was out. For all we knew, he never comes back in that game. And Sark did what he said at the press conference. We're going to run between the tackles. and they went power right at Michigan on 2nd and 10, got the first down. He got 12 yards or whatever. First down, moved the sticks. Michigan was done.
It was
at that
underrated
point,
the patience. It was underrated the patience it took, and that's why I think Gibson's. He was heralded coming out of high school. He was a big recruit. I'm not saying that, but people were dismissing him during spring and summer. You can't showcase patience when you're playing your own team and they know what you're going to do. Like, it was almost like that Le'Veon Bell when he was a star for the Steelers, where somehow he would wait like a split second or half a second and wait for the hole and then explode through it. And what should have been a 2-yard gain became an 8-yard gain. It was that kind of play, because another back, and I'm not saying another Texas back, just other backs for other schools would have ran right up their lineman's ass, and it would have been a gain of 3. Gibson waited. He knew what was going out there. He knew the play call. It was smart. It was calculated. And you can't coach that kind of patience, because everybody wants to go make the play. Waiting on it is sometimes the best thing a running back can do.
That's a great comp. I don't know if that's the best guy I ever saw do that.
Well, yeah, the body types aren't the same, and
but you're
the
right.
attitude ain't the same. But like, that's what Le'Veon Bell wasn't going to wow you with any physical characteristics. But what his number one skill set was pure patience.
Yeah.
He was going to let the hole. He knew the hole would come. Just give it time and then pick it.
I'm married a Steelers fan, so I watch a lot of Steelers games, even as a Cowboys fan, and that's all I used to ever scream at the TV and scream at her. I'm like, do you understand how patient that is to wait that long, to just wait and wait and wait to make that cut? Like, that's just brilliant stuff. Jared Gibson, great play there, and obviously the quarterbacks are looking good, so we'll see how Sark dials it up this week. We'll talk more about that with the UTSA discussion on Wednesday night. We'll make our picks. By the way, shout out to Blake, the super producer. He's the guy who got exactly right on Texas's number. He said 31-20, so he nailed the Texas score exactly right. Jason Dick got closest to Michigan's score. And as far as the spread, God, I guess it was Jason Dick. He picked 38-9, so I guess he got closest overall.
Jason is the first one of everybody to go 3-0 on our pick segment. We were going to get to that on Wednesday. He went 3-0. He's the only one of everybody, including the chatter, to go 3-0, except for Chance, who inverted it to go 0-3.
Chance, did you take the collar?
I have the golden sombrero on today.
I'm just saying, the chatter was going to win free poncho, but he fell into the Iowa Hawkeye trap. Iowa's going to get you one way or another. I finally got the over, but then they blew the game and lost to Iowa State.
Yeah. Hey, Chance, I know we're not supposed to be helping each other, but if this would have been a team sport, I would have told you not to lay those points with Notre Dame. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh, there's no way he's winning that pick.
All right, so I might as well, because the theory is out the window and I'm not doing it for the rest of the season.
Okay.
Obviously, because I told Bo about this. I was like, if this works, I'm going to stick with this.
Okay.
I literally went into ChatGPT and said, tell me the safest college football bets against the spread this weekend. Those were the three it gave me.
Wow.
Those are the three it gave me.
AI ain't taking over gambling yet, at least not ChatGPT.
And for the record, guys, as happy as I am that I only got one pick right. As happy as I was that I saw that Bowling Green Penn State thing coming, now I'm concerned because Bowling Green's coming to College Station in 2 weeks. And if the Aggie offense has not figured some things out, Bowling Green could give them a ball game. And at the very least, I'm not putting it out of the realm of possibility that Bowling Green could come in there and take them right to the end. Who knows?
Bowling Green can score. They can't stop anybody.
Right. They got up 17-7.
Even Connor Wegman's going to look good against that team.
Now that's what the Aggies will count on, right? They're going to maybe it'll be a shootout with Bowling Green. Did I just say that out loud?
The Aggies are going to come and tell us Connor Wegman should be in the Heisman Trophy candidacy once he throws 400 yards against Bowling Green. But
hey, first things first, Aggies at Florida this weekend. We'll see if anybody wants that in the Pick'em segment on Wednesday night. Anybody got anything else before we get out of here, gentlemen?
I got one thing on a slightly somber, slightly happy note, but I do want to say last Friday, my father-in-law, James Gibson, passed away after a long battle with cancer, and that's kind of why I said I hadn't seen a lot of things other than the Texas game. and of course, Will Levis throwing the worst pick of all time for my Titans on Sunday. But James Gibson was a hell of a man. He was a high school football coach in the Houston area for 20 plus years, defensive backs and special teams at Sterling High School. He almost was the closest thing to a father I've ever had in my life, and he raised my wife very admirably, and he's been a great grandfather for my children. And it's with a heavy heart that I say R.I.P. James Gibson, but he was a hell of a man.
Certainly thinking of Bo and his family this week on The Outsiders. One quick super chat before we get out. Oscar, $1.99. You can't teach downfield patience. No doubt. Great show tonight, guys. Thank you, Oscar. We appreciate it. We will see what kind of patience the Longhorns throw at UTSA with a 6 o'clock kick on Saturday. Wednesday night at 8:30, we'll be here for that pick segment. We'll pick the Texas game specifically. We will, and at sneak peek, I am not going to pick 24-20 this week. That's just right. I tell you that right now.
You could add them up, and that gets you 44. You're getting in the right at 44-0. It's a lot closer.
Right. I may add the two together. And then give Texas a little bit more. But we'll do all that on Wednesday night. Remember to check out Orange Bloods Live and all the shows. Like, subscribe, and get those notifications. We thank you for all your support. And to our man Jason Dick, get to feeling better so you can join us on Wednesday night and we can celebrate your 3-0 week in the picks. Whatever. We will talk to you on Wednesday. Blake, the super producer, will be here to make picks as well. Until then, we are the Outsiders. Texas is